It was one of those nights when the city of Istanbul sparkled with a beauty that almost felt unreal. The streets glowed with golden lights, cars slowed down near the Bosphorus, and the sky above carried the weight of countless untold stories. In the heart of the city, a luxury hotel was hosting an event that had captured the attention of the entire entertainment world. Paparazzi lined up outside, cameras flashing like fireworks. Inside, laughter, clinking glasses, and the hum of conversations filled the grand hall. The air was thick with perfume, pride, and whispers of gossip. For everyone else, it was just another glamorous night. But for King Yaman, it was the beginning of something he would never forget. He stood tall, dressed sharply in a black suit that fit him like a second skin. His presence was magnetic, and the cameras loved him. Smiles, poses, handshakes, it was the kind of scene he had lived through countless times. But that night, something felt different. Beneath his calm exterior, a storm brewed quietly, one he thought he had locked away years ago. He had just turned to answer a question from a journalist when it happened. The doors of the hall opened. Time froze. Through the shimmering light, a familiar figure stepped in. Her silhouette was unmistakable, even before her face was revealed. The way she carried herself, the subtle grace in her movement, he would have recognized her anywhere. And then, as the crowd parted for her entrance, he saw her. Demet Özdemir. For a heartbeat, he forgot how to breathe. The air escaped his lungs, and his chest tightened. Everything, the cameras, the music, the voices, faded into silence. All he could see was her. I saw her standing there, and my heart stopped. In that instant, years collapsed. Every moment they had shared came rushing back with cruel clarity, the laughter, the arguments, the nights that felt endless, and the silence that eventually tore them apart. But here she was, not in a memory, not in a dream, but real, alive, and only a few steps away. Their eyes met across the crowded hall. It was supposed to be just another glamorous night, but in that single second, the world around them shattered into silence. For Can, it wasn't just a look, it was a collision of past and present. He had seen those eyes 1,000 times before, in laughter, in anger, in love, in tears. But tonight, in the middle of flashing cameras and curious onlookers, they carried something heavier. Demet's gaze was calm on the surface, perfectly poised for the public. To anyone else, she was simply the star of the evening, confident and radiant. But to Can, there was something more, something only he could see. A flicker. A hesitation. A memory that neither of them could hide. How could one glance hold so much? Pain, longing, regret, and something else I dared not name. The crowd whispered around them. They're finally in the same room again. Do you think they'll talk? Look at the way he's staring at her. But none of that mattered. In that frozen instant, Ken felt like the boy he once was, not the star, not the public figure, not the man carrying the weight of fame. Just a man, looking at the one person who still had the power to undo him completely. He tried to look away, but his body betrayed him. His chest tightened, his throat burned, and his heart raced so violently that he feared the cameras could capture it. Demet took a step forward, gracefully, her smile untouched by the turmoil in her eyes. She waved at the photographers, posed for a second, but her gaze kept flickering back, towards him. And in that moment, Ken realized something terrifying. No matter how far they had drifted, no matter how many walls he had built, the connection between them hadn't disappeared. It had only gone silent, waiting for this night to awaken it again. I thought I had buried it. I thought I had erased her from the corners of my soul. But the truth is, she never left. The sound of the crowd blurred into nothingness. Ken stood frozen, his eyes locked on hers, but inside his mind, the present was slipping away. Suddenly, he wasn't in the hall anymore, he was somewhere else. Flashbacks came crashing in, uninvited and merciless. He remembered the night they first stayed awake until sunrise, talking about everything and nothing, laughing like the world outside didn't exist. He remembered the quiet mornings when her hair fell across his pillow, when silence felt more intimate than words. He remembered the fights too, the slammed doors, the sharp words spoken in anger, and the silence that followed like a ghost. And then, the last night. The phone call that never came. The words he had rehearsed but never said. The apology that had died on his lips. If only I had picked up the phone, if only I had said something, would we be here now? Would things have been different? Back in the hall, Can's jaw tightened. He could feel the weight of all those years pressing down on him. And yet, in front of him stood the woman who had haunted his nights and dreams, looking just as untouchable as she did the first day he met her. Demet, too, seemed lost for a brief moment. The smile she wore for the cameras faltered, just slightly, almost imperceptibly. But Can saw it. He always did. Her smile was for them, but her eyes were for me. The murmurs in the room grew louder. At first, it was just a few whispers, but soon, the air was thick with speculation. People turned their heads, eyes darting back and forth between Can and Demet. Even the cameras shifted, flashes no longer scattered randomly across the hall. They found their focus on them. Photographers raised their lenses with the hunger of wolves. Each click echoed like a gunshot. Can. Look here. Demet, smile for us. Together, just one photo, please. The noise was deafening. The crowd had sensed it, the tension, the electricity, the invisible string pulling them closer despite the distance. The gossip machine was alive, and nothing fed it better than the possibility of unfinished love. Can felt his chest tighten. Every instinct told him to walk away, to escape the prying eyes, to protect the fragile secret buried in his heart. But his feet refused to move. He stood rooted to the floor, his body betraying the turmoil inside. If I walk away now, I'll prove them right. If I stay, I'll lose myself in her eyes again. And then, Demet turned fully toward him. The hall fell into a strange silence. Even the photographers hesitated, sensing they were witnessing something raw, something unscripted. Her eyes locked on his again, stronger this time, as if challenging him. There was no hiding now. Not for her, not for him. For a moment, Can imagined walking toward her. Closing the distance. Saying all the words that had been burning in his chest for years. He could already feel the headlines the next morning, the chaos it would unleash. But more than that, he could feel the pull of his own heart, louder than any flashbulb, stronger than any fear. I saw her, and I couldn't breathe. But if I take one step closer, I might never breathe the same again. The hall erupted again, questions shouted, cameras flashing, people leaning forward in anticipation. Everyone wanted a story. But only two people in that room knew the truth, that this wasn't a story for the world. This was a war between two souls who had never stopped belonging to each other. The flashes continued to burn, the voices echoed, but inside Can's mind there was only silence. A silence so heavy it pressed against his chest. For years, he had trained himself to be strong, to be distant, to be untouchable. But at that moment, none of it mattered. They think this is just gossip. They think this is just a story for their magazines. But they don't know. They don't know that she was my beginning, and my end. His hands trembled slightly, hidden in the pockets of his suit. He tried to mask it, but the truth was breaking through. For so long, he had been the man of control, the actor, the star, the one who gave the world exactly what it expected. Yet in front of her, he was just vulnerable. Exposed. Demet's eyes didn't leave his. There was no smile now, no performance. Just a raw, silent truth shared in the space between them. I saw her standing there, and my heart stopped. Not because I was surprised, but because I realized something I had been denying for years. I never stopped loving her. Years later, in an interview that no one expected, Can finally opened up. The cameras weren't flashing this time, the crowd wasn't screaming. It was just him, his voice low, steady, but trembling with the weight of truth. I remember every second of it, he confessed. The hall, the noise, the lights, and then her. She walked in, and the world stopped. People think I'm exaggerating, but I swear to you, my heart actually stopped. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. It was like fate had decided to remind me of everything I tried to forget. He paused, his jaw tightening, his eyes glistening. That night, I wanted to cross the room. I wanted to tell her that I was sorry. That I still loved her. That I never stopped. But I didn't. I froze. Because when you love someone that much, sometimes the fear of breaking them again is stronger than the desire to hold them. People always ask me why I didn't go to her, why I didn't say anything. The truth? I wasn't strong enough. I had faced crowds, fame, criticism, but I couldn't face her eyes. Not after all the pain. Not after all the silence. He drew a long breath, as though releasing years of regret in a single exhale. And yet, that night changed me. Because when I saw her standing there, I understood something I had been running from for years. You don't stop loving someone just because the world tells you to. You don't erase a soul that once lived inside your own. She was, and she still is, a part of me. And maybe she always will be. For the first time, Yaman admitted what millions had suspected but never heard from his lips. That behind the fame, behind the strength, behind the silence, there was a man who, in one unforgettable moment, saw her standing there, and realized his heart still belonged to her.